you something. You're all church-going folk. I really want to ask you something. Do you think God knew what he was doing when he created woman? I really want to know. Or do you think it was just another one of his minor mistakes, like tidal waves, earthquakes, floods? Ungrateful little bitches, aren't they?
From the world-famous Blackbird Studios, it's the Rave X Podcast. And now, Rave X.
Oh, come on. That's a little harsh, right? That was Jack Nicholson from the movie The Witches of Eastwick. And as you can hear, he does not like a couple of women in that scene. But let me tell you something. I would never, ever call women what he called women. I mean, come on. Ungrateful? That's horrible. Anyway, my name's Rave X. This is the Rave X Podcast, episode number 130, Wicked Women. I'm your host, Dennis Halsbert. Now, what we're going to be talking about today is a couple of movies. Some of them you might have seen. Some of them I bet you've never seen before. I know for a fact there are a couple on this list that you have not seen. And we're going to be talking about movies where you've got some, for whatever reason, absolutely wicked women. And, you know, before you get on my case, well, are you making fun of women? This is my podcast. I make fun of everybody. Most of the time, I'm making fun of myself. But, you know, it really is interesting. I was thinking about it the other day, how men are genetically designed to be drawn and attracted to women, even when it's bad news, man. You know, even when we know it's bad news. And I just know that I have been attracted to some wicked, wicked women back in the day. Anyway, with that being said, kids, you know how I work. Let's dive in. All right, I hope everyone's doing good. We got some snow here up at the world-famous Blackbird Studios. And, you know, I hate snow. And anytime the winter comes, I go into like what I call a Rave X hibernation. I don't completely just stay in the house, but I'm not a fan of the cold weather, guys. You know what I mean? My people are island people. I like the warmth, you know. I like tropical. Anyway, Rave X Podcast number 130, Wicked Women. We're going to go to 2008 to a movie I caught years ago, a movie called Bitten, directed by Harvey Glazer, starring Jason Mewes and Erica Cox. Now, this is a very interesting movie because Jason Mewes will tell you he is not an actor. You might know him mostly from Kevin Smith movies, right? Like Jay and Silent Bob, Clerks, any movie with Kevin Smith, he puts in his boy Jason Mewes in it. And he always plays the guy who like sells weed and stuff. And this is kind of a one movie that he did that had nothing to do with Kevin Smith. And he never really did another movie similar to this. He didn't really want to be an actor. Kevin Smith asked him for a favor on a set of Clerks 30 years ago, and he said yeah. But this movie is very interesting because Jason Mewes plays an ambulance driver. And he does the overnight shift. And he sees the worst of the worst, right? And at one point, he's in an alleyway and he sees a very beautiful young woman who is like passed out unconscious in the trash. And he tries to nurse her back to health. And he ends up bringing her back to his place for whatever reason, right? Long story short, she starts to exhibit some symptoms of, let's just say, vampiric symptoms. She's very sick. He thinks she's a drug addict, but her drug isn't the heroin, it's blood. So he starts stealing blood from the blood bank sort of at the ambulance place where he lives, where he works. And he's got an older worker who's telling him, man, whoever this woman is you just started dating, you know, she's messing up your life, you know, you don't get any sleep, whatever. And he's trying to warn Jason Mewes. And he doesn't even know she's a vampire, but this older, wiser coworker of his is trying to tell him she's no good. You know, you said she was kind of weird, she's odd, but she's very beautiful. And the actress, Erica Cox, is just drop dead gorgeous. And that's the whole point about all the movies that are on this list today. There are red flags galore. Like, you wouldn't believe the red flags. But guys, we're not thinking with the right... Look, you know how that saying goes, right? We like pretty women, and we don't care. Consequences be damned. So in this movie from 2008, Bitten, Jason Mewes lets a vampire, a smoking hot, gorgeous vampire woman stay in his house. And it's just how it unfolds very slowly, and how he falls for her, and how little by little she's making his life miserable. And eventually, at one point, Jason Mewes' ex-girlfriend comes by the house because he's kind of just, staying in a house with his new vampire girlfriend. But he's at work, and his new vampire girlfriend kills and sucks dry his ex-girlfriend. And there's this funny line when Jason Mewes comes home, and his girlfriend, Erica Cox, the vampire, is covered in blood. And she says to him, "I couldn't help it, I'm sorry." And he looks down and he says, "Oh man, you killed my ex-girlfriend." And he still doesn't really break up with her. And I think there's another side to this, which is like she's being chased by the mob for some reason. And all the things that he goes through to protect his smoking hot vampire girlfriend. Anyway, man, I thought this movie was okay. It's not going to win any awards. But, it's one of those popping in, get some popcorn and enjoy yourself. From 2008, A Very Wicked Woman in a movie called Bitten. All right, kids, you want to talk about a movie where a guy cannot help himself against beautiful women who might be a little wicked? We're going to go to 2015, a movie with a 19% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. A movie called Knock Knock, starring Keanu Reeves, Ana de Armas. Oh my God, how hot is Ana de Armas? And another woman named Lorenza Izzo. Anyway, this movie, you guys might have seen it, called Knock Knock. Keanu Reeves is like a architect guy or something, or an author. He works out of his house. His wife is away or something like that. And he literally just gets a knock on the door during a rainstorm. And it's those two women, Lorenza and Anna. I mean, how can you say no? Just the names alone, right? And they ask to come in because they're soaking wet. And at first, Keanu Reeves is a little reluctant, but they keep pushing him. And eventually, he does have sexual relations with these two women. And what happens is they're only there to bring about his demise for whatever reason, I think in folklore they call it a succubus, right? A beautiful woman who is there to bring about the absolute demise of a man. And although there's nothing supernatural in this movie, these two women are so beautiful that they do get the best of Keanu Reeves, and he tries to fight him off and he tries to say no, but he absolutely is powerless against them. And there's one line where I believe Ana de Armas says, "Well, you're the one who opens the door." And the other beautiful woman says, "They always open the door, And at the very end, they bury him in the backyard up to his neck while they live stream their sexual encounter, let's say, with his face in the corner to his social profiles for all to see. And it's funny because Keanu Reeves and Ana de Armas later, years later, went on to do the movie Ballerina, the John Wick universe that I just saw recently, which I loved. But, I think that the message in this story is, as much as he would blame these two wicked women for bringing about his demise on social media and stuff, he opened the door. And all he had to do was not open the door. Anyway, I like this movie. Again, not going to win any big awards. Very interesting. I'm a fan of Keanu Reeves because he has done so much with his career for someone who absolutely cannot act. From 2015, a movie starring not one, but two wicked women. A movie called Knock Knock. Check it out if you can. You can find it anywhere. Ravex Podcast number 130, Wicked Women. Now, I caught this movie recently, man, and it is just a crazy movie. I mean, this was so much more insane of a movie than I thought I was getting into. We're going to go to 2019, a movie with 100% approval ratings on Rotten Tomatoes, which is very rare. A movie called Postal, directed by Tyler Falbo, starring Michael Shenefeld and Sarah Alexander. This movie is hard to describe. So let me just give you the quick gist of it, right? There's a guy who is in love with his brother's fiancée. And his brother was going to marry this beautiful woman, and he doesn't think his brother deserves her because his brother was kind of a dick, you know what I mean? But he's had a crush on this woman for years, and he realizes that what he needs to do is, he lives in Jacksonville, Florida. They're going to get married in Miami, Florida. And he decides that what he wants to do is he's going to get an engagement ring, and he's going to fly down. And when the preacher says, "Is there any reason why anyone sees that they shouldn't be married?" he's going to stand up and object to it. And he's going to give her the ring, and they're going to live happily ever after. Now, that's what happens. That's what's going on in his head. What happens is, right as this movie picks up, is he's got a couple of hours before he has to get to the plane, but the engagement ring that he ordered has not been delivered yet. So he calls the postal company, whatever they're called. They can't call it UPS in this or FedEx, so let's just call them Rocket Delivery Service. And he has the tag that says, "We tried to deliver, you weren't home," because he was in the shower. And he calls and he gets this guy on the phone. And the first part of this movie is him on the phone with customer service. And how we've all been on the phone with customer service where you don't understand why they just can't solve your problem. And so this guy's saying, "Hey, look, it's very important that I get this package." And the guy goes, "Oh, that guy, he's already off on another route. He can't get back to you till tomorrow." And the guy says, "I need this package today. I need it in like 15 minutes, man. And look, I'll tell you what it is. It's an engagement ring." And the guy on the other end, the customer service rep, is like, "Oh, man, I remember when I proposed to my fiance." And he's like, "Yeah, I love this woman. And, she's going to marry my brother, but it's bad news." And the customer service guy's like, "You know what? You have to do this, man." So they develop this little rapport back and forth, right? But eventually the guy says, "Hey, look, you didn't subscribe to Rocket Delivery Plus. So we can't have him turn around and bring it back to you." And he says, "You know what? Just sign me up." He goes, "Okay." And he tries to give him the credit card over the phone. All this stuff goes wrong, guys, while he's doing this. At one point, he steps on something and cuts his foot, and he drops his phone, so he loses the call. Then he calls back and tries to get the same guy back, and that takes a while. Then, he puts some food in the oven while he talks to the customer service rep, but then there's a fire that sets off the smoke detector. Everything that can go possibly wrong does go wrong. And eventually this guy says, "Hey, look, Dave, I really want to help you, man, but I can't help you." So Dave, taking little bits of what he told him over the phone, finds his Facebook profile and then finds out who he is and where he lives and kind of threatens him, right? He goes, 178 Oak Ridge Drive, Jacksonville. And he's like, "How do you know where I live?" And he goes, "I know a lot about you. I know that you and your wife have a little sex blog you guys do." And he's like, okay, don't tell anyone." He goes, "You deliver that package to me or I'm going to expose all your little dirty secrets about you and your wife." And it's really crazy. He threatens him. And the guy who works for the delivery company doesn't want it to come out. So he goes out of his way to try to get him this package, right? And he's like, all right, Dave, look, I'm going to get in my car right now, and I'm going to go to the facility, and I'm going to get the name of the driver, and I'm going to find him, and I'm going to have this package delivered to you." And he's like, "Okay." And he's like, "I'll call you right back." Now, while he's sitting there in his trashed house, because he just, like I said, he stepped on some glass and fell through a glass table and knocked this over, and he has fits of anger because they won't deliver the package, so he smashes his TV with a golf club, and this guy is just going nuts. He's sitting there, and his brother's fiancée, the woman who he is in love with, calls him. And she says something to him like, "Hi, Dave, just wanted to make sure you were getting on the plane and coming down to the wedding." And he's like, "Oh, yeah, of course, I wouldn't miss it for the world." And he's like, "Dave, sometimes I felt like you had the hots for me. And someone told me, one of our mutual friends, that you might try to come down and oppose to this." And he's looking around, and he's like, No, Ashley, I would never do that, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, "Okay, Dave, because I've always thought of you as like my kid brother, And he's like, "Yeah, of course." So now he starts having second thoughts. The delivery of the representative guy literally breaks into the warehouse where the package is. He's got the package. He's going to call up another truck and have it delivered to him. And he's like, "Dave, good news. I got the package. I'm putting it on another truck. It's going to be at your place in 15 minutes. And he's like, "I can't do it, man. Why did I even think this was a good idea? I was out of my mind." And the guy's like, "Dave, I don't know if you realize this, but me and you have gone through a lot of shit to get this package, and I'm having it sent to your place right now, And he's like, "No, I can't do it." And he starts having second thoughts, right? And then the delivery guy's like, "You have to do it. It's your calling. It's your destiny." And he's like, "Fine." So he's trying to fix up his place while he's waiting for the delivery guy to come, and he takes out a nail gun to hang up a picture over a hole that he punched in the wall. And he does something weird where he nail guns his hand to the wall, and he's at the other side of the house, but he hears a knock, and it's the delivery guy. And he can't figure out what to do. He's yelling like, hold on, but the delivery guy's got his earbuds in, and his hand is nailed to the wall. And eventually the delivery guy turns around and leaves, and he just pulls his hand out through the nail, and he's chasing after the truck. Delivery guy's got his earbuds in. Guys, this is a crazy movie. It's so tense. and just watching what this guy will do to get this ring, because he believes that this woman, Ashley, his brother's fiancée, is actually his dream girl. And although Ashley may not be completely wicked in this movie, you see what a guy will do when he thinks he's met the right woman, when he thinks he's met his dream girl. And I'll tell you something else crazy. This movie is based on a true story. Guys, I had to Google it. And at the end of this movie, you see the actual Dave and the actual Ashley, and you realize that he did some jail time over it. And the guy from the rep center who broke into the place, he did jail time over it. And it was all over a woman. From 2019, Postal. You know, it's funny hearing these stories of what men will do when they think they find their soulmate, their perfect woman, you know. I used to have a roommate who would meet women online, and he was really just a sucker for a pretty face, man. And I haven't talked to him in a while. I think he went off and joined the Coast Guard or some shit like that. But I would just watch him go crazy, and the funny thing was his face would change. He would be this happy, cheery guy, and then he would meet Denise online. She lived in Barstow, Arizona or something, and he lived, of course, in the great Northeast. We were roommates. And he would just go nuts, and he would immediately call and take time off from work, and he would literally drive across country. Or he'd catch a plane to California or something, or Texas, and then rent a car and drive to... The stuff that this loser would do for a piece of tail always blew my mind, and they were never overly attractive women. I mean, he would show me pictures, and I don't want to speak ill of the guy, but boy, some people really do have a weakness for women and the things that they would do. And the most I ever did, really, is I used to mess with this girl who lived pretty far away. I mean, I don't know, 6 miles away, let's say. And I would bike there sometime. I would bike 6 miles to her place and 6 miles back in the heat in the summertime, uphill both ways. Because, women, we like our women. Anyway, this is a movie I caught relatively recently, and I really like this movie, man. From 2015. It's got a 70% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. The movie is called Spring, directed by Justin Benson, starring Lou Taylor Pusey and a woman named Nadia Hilker. Now, Nadia Hilker is interesting because I haven't seen her in anything else, but she was in the later seasons of The Walking Dead. She's German. She's also a model, very pretty, tall, sort of light-skinned, biracial German model woman. You'll know her by her crazy tattoo across her neck, big tattoo on her neck. Anyway, this movie Spring, what happens is a couple of guys from England go to Italy or Venice or France for a vacation, and one of the guys meets this beautiful woman, Nadia, and he can only see her at certain times, like at night or something, and he invites her over his hotel room, but she's acting weird. And I'll just give you the gist of it so you can go watch it for yourself. It turns out that she is like a 2,000-year-old demon. And what happens is, every 500 years, she has to find a guy to mate with, and then she has that baby, and then she sacrifices the baby, but then she can stay alive and stay relatively young and hot forever. And it's a really interesting story, because you don't know what's going on for the longest time. And at one point, you see her true demon form, and it is hideously disgusting. And of course, she kills people and kills one of his friends, but he still wants to be with her. He still is just, he can't envision himself not being with her, even when he finds out that she's this crazy demon woman. And she likes him too, and she wants to be with him. And I can't exactly remember how it ends. I don't want to spoil it. But again, if you met a woman who was drop dead gorgeous, but you realized she was a demon, would you stay with her, guys? I don't know. If she looked like Nadia Hilker or Ana Diamas or one of these people, I might stay with her for a little while. Maybe a May December romance. Anyway, I really like this movie. From 2015, a movie where a guy falls in love with a demon. Movie's called Spring. Ravex Podcast number 130, Wicked Women. Here's a great movie from 2002. It's got a 21% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but I liked it. It's a quick movie, man. Barely 90 minutes. This movie is called House of Darkness. It was directed by Neil LaBute. It stars Justin Long and Kate Bosworth. This is one of these movies where everyone's kind of a douche. It's just who's more of a douche than the other one, you know? Now, Kate Bosworth, she's been in a lot of stuff. She played Lois Lane in that 2005 Superman Returns movie. Haven't seen her in a lot of things recently, and you know, it's interesting when you have an actor or an actress and they start off kind of young and then you see them in a movie and you realize that they're starting to age. You know, like I remember the first time I saw a movie with Angelina Jolie and I said, oh, she's aging. You know, she's looks great, but she's now a slightly older actress. Or Bruce Willis, you know, the first time you realize, oh boy, Bruce Willis is starting to look old, right? Still looks good. But this is the movie that I noticed with Kate Bosworth, still beautiful. She's starting to age, and I like it. She's starting to take on more serious, more mature roles. In this movie, House of Darkness, it starts off, you know, you don't see the initial date. You see after the date when he is driving her back to her house, and they're sitting in the car in the driveway talking about what a great time they had. The thing that's weird is her house is it's a castle. It's literally a castle. And he's like, you live in a castle? And she's like, yeah, I live in a castle, whatever. And she's like, well, why don't you come in and let's have a few drinks? They come in, they have a few drinks, they start getting a little romantic, you know what I mean, right? Because she's pretty. And she's like, well, why don't you wait here and let me go, I'll get us some more drinks. And he thinks he sees a woman, but he doesn't see anything. Now, things start to get weird. And he goes to the bathroom or something, and he comes back, and now there's two women in the living room, Kate Bosworth and another blonde woman. And he's like, who the hell are you? And the other woman's like, oh, I'm Amy's sister. And he's like, oh, okay, this is a little weird, but sure. And now it's very weird because the castle's dark. They were like, oh, the power goes out when it rains. They've got a fire going. This guy, Justin Long, is the ultimate dude bro douchebag. At one point, when she goes off to get a drink, he picks up his phone and calls his friend, and he's like, dude, she's so hot, I'm going to bang her. Yeah, I'm going to take pictures of it. He's one of those guys. So when what happens to him at the end happens to him, you kind of feel like it's justified, but maybe he didn't deserve what he got. So they're talking, and the older sister is like, hey, Justin, why don't you tell us a scary story, a ghost story? And he's like, all right, you women are freaking me out, but whatever. And he tells a stupid story, and he's like, and then the guy bangs both the sisters. Ha ha ha. And the two women just look at him, and they're like, I'll tell you a story. And he's like, okay, go ahead. And the blonde woman goes, years ago, there was a family that worked on a farm. They owned a farm, and they owned a nice house. And there was a bit of a plague. And the family died except for the youngest daughter. And she stayed there, and she tried to keep this farm running herself. But one day, some hunters walked past the property, and they took her off into the woods, and they made use of her, and they left her broken, beaten body in the woods to die. But then two sisters found this young girl, and they brought her back to their castle. All right, cut right there. So you see what's kind of going on. The story that she's telling is the story of what happened, like the real story of their story and how they got a castle. So anyway, she says that the two sisters nursed her back to health, drip by drip. And Justin Long says, drip by drip, what do you mean? And she goes, let me finish. And the older blonde sister says, when that young girl was nursed back to health and she was stronger than ever, the three sisters went out and they found these hunters, and they tore them apart limb by limb, shreds, just tore them to shreds. And Justin Long says, the end? And the sister says, oh no, it never ends. And then you look, the camera's looking at him, and there's a woman behind him. And she says, yeah, it never ends. And he goes, who the hell are you? And she goes, well, I'm their third sister, Carol Ann or something like that. And long story short, you realize that the brunette was the young girl that they nursed back to health. The two blondes are actually vampires. And that castle, that's why they have the castle. That's why, there's not a lot of lights in there. And what they do is they take turns going out and finding a man. They bring them back, and they drink the blood, tear him limb by limb, tear him to shreds, sort of because of what happened to that younger girl. And it's like I said, it's a quick movie. It's almost like an episode of Twilight Zone or something. But again, I really like these movies that you can get in and get out. They could have stretched this out for 2.5 hours, but I love that it was a quick, brief 90 minutes. Anyway, watch this movie, man. I really dug it. There are guys like this out there, man, and it's so unfortunate. I call them dude bros who just treat women like garbage, like they're pieces of meat to have your way with. And he, that one part where he's talking about he's going to take pictures of it and send it to his friends, and you realize that joke's on him. He gets torn to shreds by female vampires. From 2022, a movie called House of Darkness. Wow, guys, that was a heck of a list, and that was a heck of a show. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, RaveX. Do me a favor. I just put out a song a couple of weeks ago called Tormenta that is streaming on YouTube, Tormenta. And if you want to download that song or you want to download this episode, take it with you on a walk, on a jog, on a hike, ravexmusic.bandcamp.com. That's right, guys, ravexmusic.bandcamp.com. Well, thanks for tuning in. I got stuff to do. And until next time, kids, my name is RaveX. Enjoy yourself.
That was the RaveX podcast. Be sure to click like and subscribe. For podcasts, new music, and all things RaveX, go to youtube.com and search RaveX Music.